Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from and then abruptly vanish into thin air without giving us a proper return to form? While some games have had a brief hiatus while they are developing a new sequel, some game franchises are gone to the annals of time without any sign of them properly returning. Worse yet, people want them back and there isn't any indication of what might have happened. Luckily, we are here to compose our thoughts on games that should return. Hooray! Let's get that sad sack of crap out the way and regale on some fond memories. My name is Chris Panda, and these are the top 10 missing game franchises. Before we jump into the video, friendly reminder that we would love it if you take this time to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also be sure to press the notification bell to stay up to date with all of our current and future video releases. I'm also a streamer on Twitch who usually streams Wednesday through Friday, and would love it if you follow me on there. Come chat with me and enjoy some fun gameplay. The link to my channel is below in the description, and without further ado, let's get into the countdown. Number 10. Burnout. Starting on our list is a game franchise that hasn't had a new entry since the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Their last title released was Burnout Crash, which was a downloadable title and mobile platform game. Their last traditional title was Burnout Paradise, and while it was a successful game, there hasn't been anything outside of ports since its release. Unfortunately, the title also missed out on the Crash mode feature of the previous entries, making this title feel a little lackluster to some longtime fans. The series hasn't really been able to quite match up to the same level of success as the third entry in the franchise or even the follow-up Revenge. Criterion Games has since worked on Need for Speed, as well as contributing to Star Wars Battlefront and Battlefield. While those are fine games in their own right, fans have clamored for a new Burnout game to be released sooner rather than later. Number 9. Jet Set Radio. Sega has been one of the most recognizable and respected companies for video games since the 90s, and they have a lot of fondly remembered franchises under their belt, with Jet Set Radio being one of the big ones. Being released initially on Dreamcast and the sequel, Jet Set Radio Future, on the original Xbox and PC, the series hasn't seen anything in quite some time. There was a port of the original title, but the sequel was never properly re-released. Fans miss the musical style, interesting characters, and fun gameplay, and they still constantly request for a new entry in the franchise. Other developers have taken it upon themselves to create their own take on something inspired by these games. Fine examples are Hover and the newly announced game from Team Reptile, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. Will we ever see Beat Gum and the other cast of characters return? Who knows for sure, but I do hope the world will be waiting with open arms. Number 8. F-Zero. Nintendo usually likes successful games because they produce positive sales numbers. For some reason, however, Nintendo seems to refuse to acknowledge the consistent request for a new F-Zero title. The last release was on Nintendo GameCube and arcades with F-Zero GX and AX. Nintendo has acknowledged at least that people would love to see a new entry in the franchise. Their response, however, was that they wouldn't feel comfortable releasing new entry unless they would be able to have some sort of game feature that was innovative on the new systems. I don't think that they understand that the high speed was the innovative part that was something enough to warrant a new release. Thankfully enough, there have been a ton of imitators and fans of the franchise to produce their own high-speed futuristic racing game. Games like Redout, Fast Racing RMX, and those are probably just a couple of the big ones that are on the market that provide the high speed people have been wanting. But fans would love to see Captain Falcon and Company return once again to a Nintendo platform. Number 7. Onimusha. Onimusha is an action series that mirrored Resident Evil in its camera system and similarities with gameplay design, but always felt unique. The cast of characters and the setting has been time and time again proven to be something that people want to return to. There hasn't really been anything quite like these titles, minus the exception of games like Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima. The highest treatment that the series has received was an HD remaster of the first game, Onimusha Warlords, that was released in 2019. The game was a prettier version of the same game and garnered some interest from original fans, and sales numbers aren't everything, but Capcom was more than likely using this to gauge interest in revitalizing that franchise. Longtime fans have been anxiously awaiting a new entry, and there isn't much information on the forefront of whether or not that's likely to happen. The franchise deserves the same treatment that Resident Evil has been receiving, with a proper remake or a new sequel using the same engine. Hopefully there's something coming down the line to keep up the awesome work Capcom has done lately. Number 6. Midnight Club. Arguably one of the most prolific street racing video game series ever created, Midnight Club featured fast arcade gameplay using realistic vehicles and settings. While the early titles featured original vehicles, the settings were always taken from real-world locations. The final entry in the series took place in Los Angeles and featured multiple brand-name cars and motorcycles. Sadly, as of 2010, Rockstar reported that they would be stalling any future plans for the series. Take-Two Interactive did renew the trademark in 2012, so there is hope that there is a new entry and it could speed into homes in the near future. Now, the company does work on Grand Theft Auto, so a lot of the driving mechanics for GTA 5 are very apparent, as they feel pretty much like a newer Midnight Club. Usually when I speak to people about the series, they also have fond memories and wish that there was a new entry. And maybe we can expect to see one more appearance from this lovely franchise on the next generation of consoles. Number 5. Power Stone. Capcom. Back at it again with the nostalgia-driven excellence. Power Stone was released for the Sega Dreamcast and at the very least generated a sequel that was potentially bigger and better in every way. After that release, Capcom released a port of both of them on the PSP, with 4 new characters being playable on the first version of the game. After that, there hasn't been any news in the forefront of the franchise. Fans have been awaiting an HD remaster, an online port, a new entry, anything to show up on any modern platform. There have been many clones and indie titles that share the spirit of the series, but nothing quite lives up to what the original games offered. Everyone is hoping for something from Capcom, and there isn't much hope in that avenue. Never say never, but let's hope the Stones return once again. Number 4. Beautiful Joe. Movies, much like games, are an escape into an alternate life that played truer in Beautiful Joe on the GameCube and PS2. The game was unique for being an original 2.5D cel-shaded beat-em-up where you manipulate the game, or movie as it is, by causing the screen to zoom in or speed up or slow down time to your advantage. The game was comedic, fun, and vibrant with its unique style. It spawned a sequel, cartoon, and spin-off Smash Bros.-esque game. The game has since been gone for a long time and there hasn't been any new information of the return of Joe and the cast of characters breaking their way into the big screen. The character was featured in Marvel vs. Capcom, as well as a mobile title called Combo Crew. Fans have wanted a newer game in the series, and now would be the perfect time to revitalize it as a downloadable title, same way that they did for Mega Man 11. Number 3. Virtua Fighter. Sega has had their foot in the door for the fighting genre for a long time, and were one of the main people that innovated with the third dimension. It's very unfortunate that the people haven't seen or heard from one of their more prolific series, Virtua Fighter, in quite some time. The last entry, Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown, was released on Xbox 360 and PS3, and the game was also recently playable in Yakuza 6. The franchise is still something Sega recognizes, as characters appear in other titles such as Dead or Alive 5 and the Project Crosszone series. Sadly, there hasn't been any new entries since 2012, and fans of the longtime series have been waiting patiently, some voicing their opinions and requests, and others still supporting the latest release. Sega could at the very least re-release Final Showdown on modern consoles with improved net play, or a PC port, or just announce that they are working on a 6th entry into the series to at least provide hope of a new game. Until then, it seems that we will have to fight to live in other ways by any means necessary. Number 2. Def Jam. In a weird amalgamation of something that on paper doesn't sound like it should work, but totally does, is the Def Jam fighting series. Starting with Def Jam Vendetta from acclaimed developers Aki, who created the now infamous wrestling game No Mercy on Nintendo 64, we were greeted with something that felt unique and overall amazing to play. The fall, however, blew everything out of the prior game's water. Def Jam Fight for New York is still one of the most talked about, played, and prolific experiences to grace that console generation, and people still want to play it, and I don't blame them as it still holds up. Then there's Def Jam Icon. Regardless, people have been speculating a new release and clamoring for it. It seems very unlikely since Aki didn't work on Icon and the Fight Night team did, and pretty much ruined it, taking away the original charm that the first 2 entries had. While there was supposed to be a follow-up, Icon performed so poorly that it was cancelled. We all hope for a return to form, and the series that people originally loved to make a return in some way, shape, or form. Only time will tell, but let's hope that it makes a return sooner rather than later. And number 1, NBA, NFL, and FIFA Street. Sports games pretty much live forever if they are of the simulation variety, but arcade sports games live in the hearts of fans that have played them. From timeless classics like NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, people love playing sports games in a unique way, and nothing felt more unique than the Street series from EA Sports Big. Each title improved on gameplay and the crazy amount of things that you could do in each one of them. Then, when the Xbox 360 and PS3 console generation came around, fans of the franchises were sadly greeted to NBA Street Home Court, which was good but not as fun as the prior entries, NFL On Tour, which was a half-assed NFL Street, and FIFA Street, being a reboot of sorts which lacked any personality. Ever since all those titles were released, there hasn't been any mention of a new entry in any of the series. With EA Sports Big being shut down, it's presumed that each game is dead and gone. Fans want a proper return but are unaware of when that would be. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Now is a perfect time for these games to return. People have extremely fond memories of them and are just wanting a similar experience to come back. We may have to keep hoping, but here's to hopeful news of more in the future. Well, that does it for our list. Is there anything that we may have forgotten or something that you may want? Let us know in the comments below. And please, like, comment, share, subscribe as mentioned prior. My name is Chris Panda. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.